JJ, how did you think you, as a team, kind of established control early and sustained it throughout the game?
I just think it is very abnormal for a team to come back from an East Coast trip and that next game, a day after the trip, come out with more energy than the other team and play harder than the other team. On top of that, we had a back-to-back, and we lost a crushing game on Friday night. Our locker room, that was dispiriting to lose that game. It was disheartening. And for our guys to come back with an early start and be the harder playing team from the beginning, that to me says everything about our group. On top of that, this was such a different game than anything we played recently, and it was particularly like polar opposites of the Denver game. In terms of game plan, in terms of what we were trying to get offensively, it was just two very different games, and they were able to execute in Denver. They were able to execute tonight. Helped that Luka, Doe, Gabe, Jackson was awesome having those guys back. But again, just the transition from one thing to the next, coming off 4 losses, our group was phenomenal.
Was there a player or two that you thought symbolized that earlier, or was it really more of a group thing?
No, I'll say this. Never judge a player based solely on his box score. Jordan Goodwin was incredible tonight, and he had 2 points and 4 fouls. He set the tone for us. And they're an incredibly difficult team to guard. Our guys executed what we wanted to do. They took the shots we were willing to live with, and him and Doe, everybody had turns because we read it a lot today, but him and Doe set the tone on Book and KD. And those guys make tough shots, and we had to try something to make it hard for them, and those 2 guys set the tone.
You laid out all the elements for us going into this one. And with that as the kind of setting the table, you held the Suns to 6 for 22 in the first quarter. What about your defense was working at such a high level to hold them to 20%?
Yeah, I mean, it started with our physicality and just making catches tough, and then we were shifting off the right guys. I would have to ask Wiv, but our contest rate in that first quarter, because they're really good, and they were able to get us in the blender a couple times, and they were able to get open looks. Our contest rate was really high. There was one, right in front of me. I was at the scores table with Royce O'Neal that I just like that he's not making that shot. And he's on our laser board. He's a phenomenal shooter, but the contest was so good, and I think that was huge. So we had the physicality, so we were making it tough for them to generate the shots, and then when they generated the shots, we had great contests.
JJ, I think a lot of times when people judge players, they tend to focus on the things that they don't do. But I'm curious, how have you guys optimized the way Jackson is able to obviously be a vertical threat on offense, but the way he's able to also kind of fly around on defense and get involved in your switches and be part of kind of the havoc that you guys are creating there?
Look, I think I said this during the win streak at some point. I think where his growth has been this year is just his cognitive load to go from one thing to the next, the mental bandwidth to do a number of different things on a possession, to be able to oscillate between coverages and reading. When they went to the fire late, or they had gone to it a bunch, but he hadn't been on the floor, and then when they went to the fire late, he got to the foul line, made himself available. Doe gets the wide open corner 3 that kind of gives us the cushion to win the game. It's just like little stuff like that where he's, the stats are going up, but it's being able to make one play after another and really think the game that I think his biggest area of growth is. And then, playing with Luka has been awesome for him.
Kind of a two-parter. One, with Jordan, what made you decide to go with him in the starting lineup? And then 2, whether it's him, Doe, Vando, those kind of players, Gabe, how do they change the complexion of your team around the LeBron, Austin, Luka trio?
The decision, I talked to Bo, had the scout, I brought it up with him last night after my day at Disneyland with the kids, and they had gone to bed. I felt like, similar to the decision with Cam to go to the starting lineup and bring D'Lo off the bench, or to insert Max Christie in the starting lineup, it really is about just finding balance for the group and being able to bring another playmaker, another shot maker off the bench in Gabe, and really return to the role that he's had all season when we've been healthy. I thought that would be good, and then we he was already revved up, but we revved up Goody a little bit.
JJ, to follow up on Jackson, how important is his constant screening and rescreening, and then also the ability to play make out of the short roll and just make really quick decisions and reads?
Yeah, I think that's another area of growth, is the playmaking in the short roll. Incredibly important when teams are blitzing us, and obviously you've got to make choices with Luka, and a lot of teams mix it up throughout the game, and I think his ability to sort of read that when they are blitzing, when they're not blitzing, when he can roll all the way to the basket with their redding, when he's rolling through the red and trying to create switch confusion. We're all communicating on that. All 5 guys on the court, the coaches, and Jackson's part of that, and it's been huge. And then you saw it tonight. I think just the vertical spacing that he provides, and it's not even just on like a pick and roll lob, but it's on drives where that low man now has to make some tough choices, and he was early, getting great looks at the rim through that.
Hey, Coach. You spoke about having an organization to the offense. How much does having that lob threat help, Luka, Austin, and the team stay organized, in their offense?
Yeah, I think the fire in an ISO or the blitz in a pick and roll, you're creating a 4-on-3, and Luka has done that really well. If you don't have a threat at the rim, then it's really just 3-on-3, and teams are able to scram back and get back matched up. So that's just vital. And obviously, anytime you get to the blender, now you're redriving. Having someone again that has the threat of catching a lob or getting a tip in or getting a drop off pass for a dunk, that creates, we call it marginal indecision on against offensive players that we're trying to create with our defense. That creates marginal indecision for the defender as well.
Thanks, man.